I'm Tracy Baxter with today's Record Newswatch. A Menacing Valley High School student was killed, the result of a two-car collision last evening on Greenville Turnpike in the town of Deer Park. According to state police, 17-year-old Daniel Garcia was a passenger in a Honda Accord and was attempting to pass another car when it was struck by an oncoming vehicle. Garcia was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver, 16-year-old Christian Thomas of Westtown, another Menacing Valley student, is listed in serious condition at Westchester Medical Center. State police say both teens were wearing seat belts. The driver of the other vehicle, 59-year-old Joanne Daly of Westtown, was sent to Bon Secours Hospital in Port Jervis for treatment of non-life-threatening injuries. Investigators believe excessive speed was a factor in the fatal crash. Grief counseling centers have been opened at Menacing Valley High School. Teenage driving safety was on the agenda last evening at Pine Bush High School, where Orange County Stop DWI officials teamed up with local emergency responders in the latest series of Not One More forums that show teens and their parents the tragic consequences that can occur when bad decisions are made behind the wheel. Chris Devitt was one of the speakers. He did jail time after being convicted of vehicular manslaughter. His DWI crash took the life of his best friend Brian. He was hoping his story would open some eyes.
It would be selfish of me not to try to influence kids and adults in some way, shape, or form to make a different decision. I do feel that I do reach some of them. Not all of them. I would love to reach all of them. But that small percentage that I do reach, you know, it really does hit home for them. And I can be walking down the street or in a mall, and somebody will come up to me and say, hey, you know, I saw you speak last year or 2 years ago. You know, that really stuck with me. I base my decisions on that now, and that's what I'm shooting for.
Stacy Garrison of Bloomingburg lost her son to a drunk driver. She was there to provide a parent's perspective to the long-term consequences that result from bad driving decisions.
I try to do what I can do, because what has happened to my family, I don't want to happen to another family. It's just, we're not the same. We're never going to be the same. And it's very senseless. Should have never happened. And other speakers hammered home this reality to the young drivers in the audience. Distractions like using cell phones and texting while behind the wheel, creating additional dangers to them and others that they may encounter on our roads. Elsewhere, the Orange County Government Center was reopened earlier today, briefly, for the news media to get a look at the damage done to the controversial structure by flooding from tropical storms Irene and Lee. The building has been closed and offices relocated as an evaluation continues into the extent of damage. Officials with contracted engineering firms pointed out what they say are several long-term water-damaged areas made worse by the recent flooding. Another concern involves mold and a potential health issue that poses.
What we found was that there are certainly areas that are obviously visible. We're going to show you some of these areas where you can see the visible mold growth. There's some areas where you see what looks to be a perfectly plain wall, and then when you cut into it, the mold is growing on the inside of the walls. There are areas where the mold concentrations are excessive and will obviously require further remediation. By remediation, what we're talking about is removal of the impacted materials. And the removal of the impacted materials is essentially only a Band-Aid at this point in time.
To this point, engineers have only done a visual report of damage to the building. Still to come, a written report that will include cost estimates and a timetable to repair the government center. County Executive Ed Diana, who supports construction of a new building, said public hearings would be held before any final decisions are made concerning the future of the building. Reporter Krista McKenna will have more on today's tour and the options the county now faces in tomorrow's Times-Herald Record. A Newburgh man has been arrested in connection with a fight and stabbing last night in the town of Newburgh. Happened inside Gold's Gym on Racket Road when an argument between a group of men turned violent. 19-year-old Matthew Maroon is accused of stabbing two men, one of them in the hand, the other in the stomach. Both were being treated at St. Luke's Cornwall Hospital. Maroon was charged with 2 counts of felony assault and criminal possession of a weapon. Well, those of you who suffered flood damage during the recent storms may now be able to get a different kind of help. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, has approved nearly $500,000 for emergency crisis counseling for about 15,000 residents in the state's 14 impacted counties, including about 2,600 in Orange County. Counties will hire local counselors or human service workers to provide emotional first aid to many of those who suffered losses and are now confronting physical and psychological problems as a result. The help will be available from mid-October to Thanksgiving. And the next time you need to renew your driver's license, you won't have to stare at that eye chart in the motor vehicle office. The state DMV is dropping the vision test requirement for future license renewals. Instead, drivers can self-certify that their vision hasn't changed by renewing by mail or online. Officials in the state motor vehicle department say they don't believe the change will impact safety on our roadways. They say the change will make renewing more convenient to licensed drivers. Opponents say they're worried that those with worsening vision will be back on the road without getting tested. It's not what we wanted to see when we got up this morning. More soaking rain, and there is the threat of even more rain tomorrow. Thursday will be cloudy with showers likely. The highs will reach the mid-70s. Friday looks better with temperatures up around 70 degrees under a partly sunny sky. For breaking news, including the latest weather information, keep clicking back here at Record Online and get a wrap-up of all the day's events by picking up a copy of tomorrow's Times-Herald Record. For Record Newswatch, I'm Tracy Baxter.